on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million, and they're different. Right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies, and then you step up into different things.
Hi guys, welcome back to the show. It is your girl Sarah right here on Relaks Radio, and obviously we're having a very important and interesting conversation with regard to UK food firms, facing labor shortages, and now they're actually asking ministers to let prisoners actually help with these labor shortages. All right, now let's talk about this in detail, but obviously before we do that, I want to know what your thoughts and opinions are. So feel free to actually text me or call me on 078-52473473 to share your thoughts, share your opinions, because I would love to hear everything that you have to say. All right, and now before we actually head into our conversation, I also want to very quickly tell you can actually go like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and actually subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because that way you can actually make sure you're always informed and you're always updated about all of these things. So make sure to do that. All right, and obviously don't forget to download our app, because that's available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, and that way you can actually make sure that you're always informed and you're always updated about all of these things, and you're also listening to the conversation from wherever it is that you are in the world. All right, so make sure to actually do that, because I would love to hear everything that you have to say with regard to this conversation that we're going to be having. All right, so now let's very quickly talk about why these labor shortages are there, and why UK food firms are actually asking ministers to let prisoners actually work for them so that they can reduce these labor shortages. Right now, desperate food manufacturers are actually pleading with the government to be able to call upon prisoners to actually solve this labor crisis that is in fact blamed on the double blow of Brexit and COVID. All right, now even yesterday we were talking about how these post-Brexit immigration rules have essentially caused a lot of shortages, have caused a lot of problems for a lot of restaurants. We were talking about McDonald's, it doesn't have milkshakes. We were talking about Nando's that had to close about 50 of their shops because they ran out of chicken, and things like that. So basically you understand that along with this labor shortage, we're also going to have a supply shortage, right? Now, the Association of Independent Meat Suppliers, which basically represents butchers, abattoirs, and even processors, said it had a call to actually set up with the Ministry of Justice on Monday that would actually explore how its members could actually recruit more current inmates and ex-offenders. Okay, now to fill vacancies, companies are actually trying to draft in prisoners via a scheme that actually allows inmates to undertake paid work on their release. Okay, so basically they're also contacting charities for ex-servicemen and women to try to drum up stuff. Okay, because right now that's just what it looks like. People are all of these companies are struggling, but we also know at the same time that people are struggling because of the pandemic, right? And I think it's absolutely amazing that they are considering ex-servicemen, service women, ex-offenders as well, because that way you can actually make sure that they have some sort of future as well, because we know that when you're out of prison, it's very, very hard to actually give these prisoners jobs or to rehabilitate these prisoners, right? And we've seen this happen so many times before as well. So that is very, very important. And I think it's absolutely amazing that they're actually thinking of doing this, because it's definitely going to help a lot of these, ex-offenders, right? So that is, that is absolutely, that is a very positive and, such a nice thing to do as well. Okay. Now that, like I said, they're basically contacting these charities to try and drum up people, so that, or rather ex-servicemen and women, to actually come and help them, right? Now, Tony Goodger of the Meat Suppliers Association actually said that some of its members already had inmates on the release on temporary license program working for them, and found them to be an asset. All right, because the truth is, once you are out of jail, a lot of people want to turn their lives around. They want to change the kind of the kind of lives they led. They want to let go of the past and become completely new people, right? And I think this is an absolutely amazing opportunity, because in a way you're sort of making them feel like they have a chance in this world. They're not going to be completely abandoned, and they're not going to be completely ignored as well, right? Now, it also said that it had been in contact with the Career Transition Partnership, which basically helps former service personnel into work, and had been able to point some of them to members with job vacancies. However, the numbers are still very, very low. Okay, now there are still so many places that need to fill up labor shortages, that are trying very hard to fill up labor shortages, because you need to understand that with COVID, that was a lot of economic loss for these companies, right? And then in addition to that, with Brexit as well, there is an added loss to them as well, because all of those customers that they had, they're going to be they're not going to necessarily have that same amount, with regard to all of these new regulations that are in place after the post-Brexit immigration rules. Okay, now much of the food industry is in fact facing a recruitment crisis, said Goodger, right? And the advice we have received from the Home Office is that UK's domestic labor force should take priority, right? And the thing is, even though they've tried hard, and many members have also tried as well, still finding all of them remains a challenge. Staffing still remains a challenge. It's like, regardless of what you do, it's still very, very hard for them to actually get all of that. All right, now make sure to stay tuned, because we're actually going to head into a small break, and after that we will be back to discuss more of this. So obviously, until then, make sure to stay tuned.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're writing? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say a purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts, mainly one, because they're nice and bright. So they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's very important, right? Because you want cars, yeah.
Very important. And also, like, people see me in, like, calves, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on here, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
Hi guys, welcome back to the show. It is your girl Sarah right here on Relaks Radio. We're talking about how food firms in the United Kingdom are in fact facing labor shortages, and along with that, they're also facing supply shortages, right? Because if there are no laborers to actually, keep up with the demand, then obviously you can't supply the demand, right? So that is what this conversation is about. Now, make sure to stay tuned, because we're going to be talking about a lot of this. So if you want to share your thoughts and your ideas, all you need to do is just text me or call me on 078-52-473-473. Share your thoughts, share your opinions, because I would love to hear everything that you have to say. All right. So don't actually forget to do that. Now, something else that you can actually do is to go like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and actually make sure that you're always informed and you're always updated about the very latest by following us on our socials. Okay. So don't forget to actually, subscribe to our YouTube channel and share our videos and your thoughts along with that with your friends and your families as well. Okay. Now, don't actually forget to do that. So something else that you can actually do is to go download the app, because the app is available completely for free on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, and that way you can actually make sure that you're always informed and you're always updated on both your iOS and your Android device, or either of your devices, whatever it is. Okay, so make sure to do that. And now let's actually head into a conversation, because we're going to be talking about how there has been this labor shortage, there has been this staff shortage, and why UK food firms are actually asking ministers to let prisoners actually work, and help them out. All right. Now, like I said, we were talking about all of this. Now, Goodgear actually said that last week he had contacted HMP Hollesley Bay in Suffolk, but the rehabilitation officer said that there was such a big demand for inmates that we've reached our quota and we're not allowed to let any more out to go to work. All right. Now, the British Meat Processors Association, whose membership also includes the UK's meat processing companies, actually said that businesses were in fact not leaving any stone unturned to find workers, including contacting the prison service. All right. Now, the prisoner day release scheme was actually curtailed during the pandemic, but obviously individual prisons have been reintroducing it in recent months. All right. And this is obviously, in a way, they're also trying to rehabilitate these prisoners and make sure that these prisoners have some future. They have a way that they can turn their lives around, because, we know that when it comes to ex-offenders, there is very little chance that some of them actually get a job, right? Some of them are actually recruited by companies. And so in a way, when we're looking at the whole, positive side of it, you're actually giving prisoners job and making them eligible for working. All right. Now, like I said, the prisoner day release scheme was in fact curtailed during the pandemic. However, individual prisons have in fact been reintroducing it in recent months. Now, the shortage of workers is not just in food production, because the shortfall of about 90,000 HGV drivers is also leading to gaps on supermarket shelves. All right. Now, all of these shortages that are there, it's not just for, it's not just supply, because there are a lot of drivers who, there is in fact a shortage of lorry drivers as well. And in a letter to Kwasi Kwarteng, who happens to be the business secretary, the British Retail Consortium actually said that freight trade and also the freight trade group Logistics UK have also warned that consumers will suffer unless the government intervenes. Right now, the other thing that has obviously been a big problem is people say that this might affect Christmas as well. All right, so these staff shortages might affect Christmas as well, unless we find an immediate solution to this problem, and we try and make sure that find a solution to this problem. This might affect Christmas, because there will still be labor shortages and supply shortages at that point of time as well. Right now, the worker shortage is in fact having a knock-on effect on the hospitality trade, which is also struggling to recruit enough staff, and absences caused by COVID-19 or the need to isolate are adding problems. All right. So usually when you basically go through a recession and when your economy is, expanding again, when it's trying to get back on track and increase its GDP and whatnot, we know that roles of jobs actually open up, right? Job opportunities open up. Now what's happening is job opportunities have opened up, except there isn't enough people to fill up all of these job opportunities. So that's in fact, resulting in a labor shortage, resulting in a supply shortage. And because of that, that is still going to affect the economy, right? And with, Brexit, with COVID, things are not really working out all that well for these companies, right? So last week, Nando's had to actually close a 10th of its restaurants due to a shortage of chicken. And the British Poultry Council actually warned that 1 in 6 jobs jobs, which is nearly 7,000 roles, were unfilled as a result of the EU workers returning home, and that this situation could hit the supply of turkey this Christmas. Okay, now the BMPA also said that it had more than 10,000 vacancies to fill. All right, so this is basically what's happening now. It's very, very important to keep these things in mind. However, now we're actually going to head into a small break, and after that we will be back to discuss this more. So until then, make sure that you stay tuned.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday.